Giannis Antetokounmpo calls out his own teammates for being selfish, not playing together, and not playing to win. Is this a sign that it could be growing, that he could ask for a trade? We'll talk a little bit about that as the league is watching Giannis Antetokounmpo, and we're going to break down trade rumors from around the league, from the Warriors to the Raptors and everything else. All that and more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, Giannis Antetokounmpo really just put his team on notice for how they're playing and how it's impacting their ability to win basketball games. You know, and this is Giannis, probably the most close we've seen him to being frustrated. And even then, it wasn't like he was being like completely like over the top with it, but this is probably the biggest example that we've had of Giannis just being frustrated with the lack of winning that they're doing with the Milwaukee Bucks. Enough of me talking about it. Let's go ahead and play it here.
We're not playing hard. We're not doing the right thing. We're not playing to win. We're not playing together. Our chemistry's not there. Guys are being selfish. Guys are trying to look for their own shots instead of looking for the right shot for the team. Guys try to do it on their own. At times I feel like when we're down 10, down 15, down 20, we try to make it up in one play, and it's not going to work. We just got to keep on chipping away possession by possession. Especially when you're playing a team like OKC or a team like Minnesota or a team like San Antonio. Overall, roster-wise, they're better than us. So you got to know that you got to compete for 48 minutes and try to get the best shots available for 48 minutes. And if you don't do that, and you try to get the first shot available or one pass shot, it's not going to work with those teams. I've been those teams. You know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, when we played a team that came down and shot the first shot, we took the rebound, we went the other way, we were like, you're not going to win. Like, you got to move us around. You got to move me around. You got to move Chris around. You got to move Drew around. You got to move Brooke around. You got to move Pat around. Like, you got to move us around in order for you to find an opportunity to get a good open look. Like, if you come down and you pass the ball, you got Drew Holiday on you, and you shoot it, good luck. Like, I've been in that position. But right now, I think we just don't get it. We just don't get it.
What's going to help you get it as a team?
You got to go through this, what we're going through. You got to come watch film, work hard, and hopefully by the experience that you create through the adversity that you face and the, winning and losses, eventually you're going to get it. But we don't have time for that. We don't. We got 39 games left. We don't have time. We really don't.
So as you see there, like, Giannis just, he kept it real. Not playing together, being selfish, players taking shots, those type of things, not sharing the ball. You got to keep in mind, Giannis has been a champion. They won a title, so he understands what it takes and the sacrifice that's needed to win a title. And not to say that Giannis isn't willing to sacrifice his shots, because you see, there are some players that absolutely get as many shots sometimes as Giannis Antetokounmpo. And, he's willing to do that. We've seen him, buy his time and take over games when needed, when the team needs a bucket, things like that. And that's what you want to see from a star-level player. That's what you want to see. When you see players like Ryan Rollins have as many shots as Giannis, it's because Giannis understands, hey, to get to where I need to get to, I have to allow other people to help. You have to allow other people to thrive, right? Giannis took 11 shots in last night's game, and Ryan Rollins also took 11 shots. Why is Kyle Kuzma taking more shots than Giannis Antetokounmpo? Why is he taking 12 shots? Why is Bobby Portis taking 14, right? It's things like that. Now, as you guys know, I'm one of the hosts over on Locked On NBA. My co-host over there, Matt Moore, made a great point in regards to this topic. He said that when players don't feel like connected with the team, they feel like they have to look out for themselves, whether it's for their next contract or the next destination, or whether, a team's going to trade for them. And maybe that's what's happening here, is that because of Giannis not really being committed to the Milwaukee Bucks. While he said he's not going to request a trade, even in that same article where he said that, the same interview, he left the door open like, hey, I'm not requesting one now, but I could later. And so maybe it's a feeling around of players feeling like, hey, we got to take care of us because Giannis is going to take care of him. We got to make sure we're doing the thing for us. So we'll see, what's going to happen there. But this is just all another, just sign of just, we've heard that teams around the league are waiting. Giannis is still holding up the trade deadline. Brian Windhorst, in regards to it, said this, Milwaukee, because I know that what Doc has said on the record, I know what Giannis has said on the record, but I'm just telling you, other teams in this league are not convinced that Giannis is not going to be traded. That doesn't mean he will get traded. I'm just telling you that they're not convinced. If you take that out in aggregation, you can use it against me. But the nuance is it's not like there's 11 other guys to trade for. That's the key, because there's a number of teams that are like, boy, if B, then A, Giannis is the big if right now. And so this isn't the first time that we've seen this. Like, teams do not want to give up their assets because of the chance that Giannis Antetokounmpo could become available. And I can't be mad at any team. I've said that multiple times. I can't be mad at a team saying, hey, listen, if we got a shot at Giannis, a generational player, adding him to what we have going on here, we don't want to do something that's going to eliminate us from doing that. The last thing that we want is to make a trade, and then 2 months later, they're willing to move Giannis, and now we've given up those assets for a player that's good, that we feel confident in, but we don't necessarily, it's not Giannis. And I understand that the Knicks are a team that's like that. The Miami Heat reported are like that. The Toronto Raptors want to make a move, and they're a team that could be in on Giannis if he truly does ask for a trade. But at the same time, teams can only wait so long. And the Milwaukee Bucks as well, like the longer that they wait and other teams make kind of maneuvers, it's not that teams may not want to, but maybe you're lessening the assets that you can get back, because once teams start spending assets on other players, there's only going to be a certain pool there, and you can request and demand all you want in the trade, but if it's just not out there, we've seen it. If the market dictates it, you're kind of screwed. You're SOL. And that's what the Milwaukee Bucks need to avoid here. So we'll see what's going to happen. We'll see. It just continues to be a thing with Giannis. The trade rumors aren't going to go away. The talk around Giannis isn't going to go away. And honestly, it shouldn't. A player like Giannis does not come available all the time. And if he does truly become available, then, the teams are going to want to try to go after that and add him to their team. So let me hear from you guys on this one down below. Hearing Giannis frustrated like this, do you think that this means that he may be more likely to request a trade, whether it's now the trade deadline or at the end of the season, if there's a full season of this? Or do you think this is just Giannis being frustrated with what's on the basketball court, but he still loves Milwaukee, which I'm sure he does, and is still going to continually give Milwaukee a chance to put the right team around him so that they can try to win the title again? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, we also have heard that the Houston Rockets have interest in Jose Alvarado. This is not the first time we've heard about some interest around the talented guard. And the thing with Jose is that he's a very specific type of guard. He is really good at getting steals. He fights to give defense. And when you really look at it for the Rockets, this is the type of move. $4.5 million this season, $4.5 million player option for next season as well. That low of salary makes it a really low risk option for the Houston Rockets to go out there and try to get this pick. Also, I believe he's from Houston, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody fact check me on that one. So we know that Houston needs point guard help. They've done a fabulous job at points this season about doing ball handling through committee thing, or even Alfred Sengun, what he does through ball handling and stuff like that. But you need a point guard. And it's been more evident as they've gone through their struggles this season that they need somebody. It doesn't have to be a traditional point guard, but whether it's Jose Alvarado or if Chris Paul gets bought out, the Houston Rockets are going to acquire a point guard at some point. I really do feel that. Now, let's keep in mind, the Houston Rockets are hard capped. So because of that, they have to thread the needle with a very specific type of salary. That's why I do think buyouts or trade that's low cost, like a Jose Alvarado's contract, comes into gear for that and makes it make sense for them. And so we'll see what happens. But the Houston Rockets are clearly, surveying the league for point guards that fit their salary restraints while also bringing something, a dynamic that they're missing with that team. I tell you what, you put Jose Alvarado on the Houston Rockets team, you have him and Amin Thompson and what they're both able to do defensively, and the Houston Rockets are able to do defensively overall. I think that works if they're able to get him in there. It works a whole lot for that team. Again, I don't want to overblow it like Jose Alvarado is some huge game changer. But as we've seen, even for like the Dallas Mavericks a few years ago, when they added players like Daniel Gafford and Derrick Jones Jr., sometimes if you add the right role player on a team with the right stars on it, it can have a tremendous impact on what you're able to do. And that is what the Houston Rockets would be looking at if they do try to make a move for Jose Alvarado. So just keep a lookout on that. Jose Alvarado right now is out with injury as well, so keep that in mind. But this isn't 2K. You can still trade players while they're injured. And so because Jose doesn't have to do a lot of the scoring, he only takes 7 shots per game for his career. He's taking 6.5 this year. He doesn't take a lot of shots. He's fairly efficient with it, 36% from 3, 42% from the field. But this is a kid that averages over a steal per game. His assist-to-turnover ratio is really solid. He's just a smart basketball player that can come in here and help you play basketball the right way. And that's what the Houston Rockets need, is somebody that can come in, fit in without really changing their shot diet or anything too much, and help play off the players with the gravity that they already have on this roster. That's what they'd be looking for, and it makes a lot of sense for that as well. Let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, we got a number of trade rumors to pop up on Brett Siegel's weekly article, and he talks about a few teams. The New Orleans Pelicans, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Orlando Magic, and the Toronto Raptors. We just touched on the Toronto Raptors a little bit there, right? But in regards to the Minnesota Timberwolves, Brett Siegel says this: everyone around the NBA knows that the Timberwolves want to add a point guard, and they are heavily expected to make a move for a guard on February 5th. Who that is dependent on the market, as Rob Dillingham and Mike Conley are their only real trade assets at this point. Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and Trey Jones from Chicago have all come up in connection with the Wolves recently, as has Kings guard Malik Monk. Tyus Jones and Colin Sexton are 2 other experienced guards league personnel have linked to Minnesota, although Charlotte has signaled that it would want value either in the form of draft picks or a young prospect for Sexton. So hearing that the Timberwolves want to add a point guard or guard, and they want to do so using either Rob Dillingham or Mike Conley. Now, Rob Dillingham is a first-round pick just from a couple of years ago, and so that would fit the mold of what they want for Colin Sexton. The question is do the Minnesota Timberwolves feel that Colin Sexton helps enough to where they'd be willing to give up on a young guard who they really they don't have time to develop, and they don't have time to wait for him to develop. They see their window open now, and they're trying to dive through that window, and that makes sense for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So we'll see what comes up with them in connection to what guard they go after. There's a number of guards available out on the free agent market. They named all 3 from the Chicago Bulls. Tyus Jones will make some sense for them as well. We'll see what the Minnesota Timberwolves do. Let me know down below which guard would you target if you're the Minnesota Timberwolves that makes the most sense for that team. As far as the New Orleans Pelicans, he says this: teams continue to make calls about Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and Zion Williamson, yet the Pelicans have not fully engaged in conversations about any of these 3 players. Whether the Pelicans ultimately decide to do, they will not be taking back long-term money or crossing the tax line this season. Outside of these 3 players, the Pelicans have also received a lot of interest in Jose Alvarado, who we just talked about, who is their most likely player to be dealt this season. The Knicks, Rockets, and Detroit Pistons are all said to have interest in the defensive-minded guard. So, I mean, the Pelicans, who have been in a lot of trade talks since the start of the season, around Trey Murphy, around Herb Jones, likely moving just Jose Alvarado, it makes some sense. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, you have a 10-win team. Why would you want to keep any members of that core for a 10-win team? And I understand that. But I think that they want to see what they can look like in developing that. What do they look like in the offseason, coming back in next season? I do think the Pelicans could go back to the trade table next year at the trade deadline for any of those players. And I do think that some of those guys are likely to be moved eventually if and where they feel things don't fit. But for a team that gave up a first-round pick to get Derek Queen, it may be smart for them to keep the talent and see what they already have rather than trade it for unknown. So that's where it seems like the Pelicans are at this year at the trade deadline. We'll see if anything changes. Next up, the Orlando Magic. Brett Siegel says there's been a lot of talk as of late that the Orlando Magic are open to moving Tyus Jones, Goga Batazde, and or Jonathan Isaac before season's trade deadline. Batazde is an intriguing player who could fetch multiple second-round picks in a trade and free up salary for 2026-27 season in the process. Orlando could move below the tax if it takes back less salary in a potential trade, and can also do so while making a key secondary upgrade to make a real push in the playoffs. However, the Magic will enter the offseason with a major jump in payroll, so it's highly unlikely the organization seeks any players outside of those on expiring contracts. The Orlando Magic are such an interesting place, right? Like, You traded 4 first-round picks for Desmond Bane. It hasn't really helped you get to the level that you had expect to get to. And now, we've heard like some rumblings and things like, hey, could they eventually have to look to move Paolo Banchero or Franz Wagner or something like that? This is a team that was up and coming, but it goes to show you how if you don't stay ahead of the curve, even in the Eastern Conference where things are tight, you can find yourself behind the 8 ball real quick after having a promising season. And that's what the Orlando Magic, that's basically what's happened to them. So we'll see what the next step is for them, but I do expect the Orlando Magic to be a team looking to will and deal. Lastly, the Toronto Raptors. Brett Siegel says this: Eastern Conference rival front office personnel continue to point to the Toronto Raptors as a team ready to strike. Domantas Sabonis and Anthony Davis both have big names linked to Toronto. Yet the Raptors are still lurking and seeing what aggressive moves will present themselves before the trade deadline. The Raptors are another team that has spoken with the Pelicans about Trey Murphy and other players on their roster, so don't count out that organization finding its big upgrade this season. The Raptors are trying to go all in. Reportedly, there's some pressure internally from the Raptors in that organization of taking advantage of this window now. And we'll see if that works out. I mean, the Brandon Ingram trade ended up working out for them. Scotty Barnes has made a huge step for them. All these things are true for this team, but they want to make that next step and truly be a contender in that Eastern Conference, and we'll see if they can get there. And if they can make the moves to get there, they want to keep Jakob Poeltl. We'll see if they're able to do that. But overall, like the Raptors are a fun and interesting team to watch because they're also a team that could wait to go all in on like a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade. They could very well wait to do that. So we'll see what all those things end up happening. But I just wanted to do a roundup of those rumors from Brett Siegel. Brett Siegel seems to be pretty plugged in on that type of thing. But that's it. That's going to do it for today's episode, man. I appreciate you guys so much for staying in. If Giannis really becomes available, the entire NBA changes overnight. The deadline might not be loud yet, but the tension, it's definitely building around the NBA. I want to hear your thoughts down below. Is Giannis staying put, or is Milwaukee sitting in a sinking and ticking clock? If you enjoyed today's breakdown, make sure you guys hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel as well. You guys can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything NBA and basketball related. And I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video, which probably is going to be tomorrow. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.